I'm going to show you how to avoid or alleviate all the keto side effects. I'm pretty sure I got all of them covered. But no intro today, let's dive right into it. We're going to start out with rashes, or essentially the keto rash. Typically, what's going to handle this is increasing your B vitamins, and specifically B2 and B3. This can be achieved best by taking a whole food B complex or nutritional yeast. Now, it can also be caused by having basically a bile deficiency or not enough bile to digest fat soluble vitamins, and specifically vitamin A and vitamin E. This is where you'd want to take some bile salts so that you're exorbitant enough of those, because those could potentially cause skin issues like rashes. The next one is going to be a very common one, and that's fatigue or the keto flu. Now, this is very easy to fix because all it is essentially dehydration. All you need to do is try to get in some more good quality mineral salt and potassium and magnesium. The easiest way to do that is magnesium. There's a lot of different supplements and pills you can take, but one thing you can do for the salt and potassium is take a 1/4 teaspoon of potassium citrate powder and then 1/2 teaspoon of a good quality mineral salt, mix it in a little bit of water and knock it back like a shot. Or you could opt for a good electrolyte powder. There's a lot of good ones out there. I'll have my favorite two linked down in the description. And also, this could actually help specifically relating to the potassium if you have high blood pressure. Now, if you're having a hard time going to sleep, you're having sleeplessness, insomnia, and I personally experienced this myself when I first started doing keto, the best thing you can do is the exact same thing that I do before I go to bed. You do the same thing with the mineral salt and the potassium powder that I just talked about, and then you want to get a good magnesium threonate supplement, and then you want to take 1/2 teaspoon of MCT oil. The reason for this is when the body's low in salt, it tends to raise your cortisol. So you're getting the salt in, then potassium helps the heart relax and get in rhythm the way it's supposed to get in rhythm. Then magnesium threonate is the only type of magnesium that's actually able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier and get into your brain, which is going to produce a very good calming effect. Then it's been shown the MCT oil actually helps tryptophan get into the brain, because when you're doing a ketogenic diet, we have a lot lower insulin levels, so it's harder for tryptophan to get into the brain because the cells ain't opening as wide as they used to, because that's what insulin does. It opens up your cells so that they can receive things. If you're having a little bit of brain fog or you're just having trouble concentrating on things, this could be another issue where electrolytes would help, but it can also be caused from a B1 deficiency or you're low in ketones. You can obtain more B1 once again through a good whole food organic B complex or through a fat soluble version of B1 called benfotiamine. Now, if you're low in ketones, the best thing to do to increase your ketones very quickly and rapidly is going to be taking 1 tablespoon of MCT oil. MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides, and basically these bypass the regular digestive system and get turned rapidly into ketones, and that's going to help your brain function better because the brain actually loves ketones and it runs very efficiently on them. One out of the many things that B1 does is it helps you come back from stressful situations and calm down, but it also can contribute to you not feeling very clear-minded and being able to concentrate easily on things that you're trying to get done. Next, if you're having gout, gout is caused by high uric acid in the body, and we tend to have higher uric acid levels when we start doing keto, and especially when you start doing intermittent fasting. It's just a byproduct. Now, the way to alleviate this is going to be trying to consume a good amount of leafy greens if you're able to do that, or you could opt for like a wheatgrass juice powder, because this stuff is going to help regulate the pH and bring it a little bit lower and help get rid of all that uric acid that's causing your gout to flare up. So we've taken care of 5 symptoms so far, but now you've been doing keto for a little while, you go to the doctor, you get some blood work done, and it comes back that you have high cholesterol. While this is rare, it does happen to some people, but it's actually nothing to be worried about, because when you're burning fat, fat cells are composed of triglycerides and cholesterol. Now, usually that's going to process through your liver and your gallbladder, and you have no problems at all, but you might have a backup in your liver or gallbladder. In this case, you're going to need to take, once again, some bile salts, or you may need some kind of liver support. If you're experiencing that, or you end up experiencing it, just check down in the description. I went ahead and put a link to a good liver support supplement down there, and you can check it out and see if it's optimal for you to help you with this. So maybe when you was at the doctor's office, maybe you and your doctor were kind of close to each other, maybe even friends, and he thought he was just helping you out when he looks at you and says, "Hey man, no offense, but your breath is really kicking." This is actually a very common side effect on keto, and the best way to alleviate it is increase your leafy green intake, and more specifically lower your protein intake, because ammonia is actually a byproduct of high protein, and that ammonia smell can end up coming out in your breath. Next up, we got kidney stones. Now this could simply be avoided by just drinking enough water, at least 2.5 liters a day, but also potassium citrate can help with this, because the citrate in the potassium actually helps protect your kidneys and binds to oxalates, because 8 out of 10 kidney stones are actually caused by high oxalates in the body. So it would also be a good idea to avoid things that are high in oxalates like almonds, spinach, and chocolate. If you're experiencing digestive issues like you're stuck in the bathroom, or you'd love to be able to go to the bathroom, or you're having a lot of stomach pain and cramping and bloating. As far as diarrhea and constipation go, what you need to do is adjust your leafy green intake. If you're having diarrhea, you need to intake a little bit more leafy greens to give you more of that fiber to firm you up. If you're having constipation, you probably need to back off of the leafy greens or even cut them out for a little bit so that they can not be plugging you up and causing you that pain. If you're bloating, this is usually going to be because you're intaking too much fat, or you don't have enough bile to digest the fat that you're intaking. In that case, once again, you would want to try taking some bile salts. And on top of that, you may not have a gallbladder at all, where you definitely need to take some bile salts. And in addition to that, you may want to back off of certain things that are extremely high in fat. You may even want to take a look at your macros, and you may actually be consuming too much fat with your meals. Now, if you're just having a lot of intestinal pain in general, this could be caused by a lot of different things, but there's a high chance it could be caused by high lectins. Lectins are an anti-nutrient, and they're found extremely concentrated in things like nuts and beans. This is where it'll probably be a good idea to cut back on the nuts or completely cut the nuts out for a while. Another digestive issue I didn't mention earlier is heartburn. Now, usually this gets resolved when you're doing a ketogenic diet, but if it's not, simply try taking 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with your meals, or when you're experiencing the heartburn. Because heartburn isn't actually caused by high acid. It's actually caused because your stomach acid isn't acidic enough. There's a little valve at the top of your stomach, and it stays closed tight when your stomach acid is acidic enough. But when your stomach acid isn't acidic enough, that valve stays open and you have all this stuff splashing up. Heartburn, GERD, indigestion, because that valve is pH sensitive. If you think you're having gallbladder pain, which if you don't know, the gallbladder is located just right behind the liver in this area on the left side of your body. Now, you might want to go to the doctor and get checked if it's real severe to make sure you don't have gallstones. But the other thing that can cause this is having your fat intake too high, because too much fat stresses the gallbladder. So you might just want to cut back on your fat intake for a little while and see if that discomfort goes away. Now, if your face looks like the pepperoni pizza that you used to enjoy before you started doing keto, you were definitely experiencing an acne problem. I'm not trying to intentionally poke fun at it with the pepperoni comment, because this is actually a problem for a lot of people that don't even do keto. A very serious problem. The best thing that you can do is try avoiding dairy products, because a lot of people are actually very sensitive to dairy, and it can cause them to have a lot of breakouts on their face. Unfortunately, this means you would need to cut out things for a while like butter, cheese, heavy whipping cream. But specifically related to butter, one thing you can still have is clarified butter, because it removes all the milk proteins and all the lactose, which is the stuff that actually usually causes people issues with acne on their face. Now, if you're having palpitations and muscle cramps, this is a super easy one to fix. You just need to increase your electrolytes, your magnesium, your potassium, and make sure you're using a good quality mineral salt. Now, next up is going to be if you're experiencing or having irritability. This one is also easy to fix, and that's by taking a good amount of B1. And I mentioned B1 earlier, and this is where you definitely want to go for the benfotiamine supplement, because as I said, it is a fat soluble form of B1, so you're going to get a very good absorption rate of this compared to the water soluble B1 that you typically see. Just make sure you take the supplement with a good amount of fat, because I said it's fat soluble, so you'll need a good amount of fat to stimulate bile to be able to break it down and absorb it efficiently. One of the functions of B1 is to help your mind calm down and come back from stressful situations easily and not stay worked up over something tiny and small through the rest of your day. Honestly, a good amount of these side effects can actually be avoided by starting keto the right way. Can actually help you avoid most of these symptoms. So make sure you check out this video I did. It's a complete guide on how to start a healthy ketogenic diet, and it's got everything essential that you need to know. Be sure to leave any questions you have down in the comments, but as always, keep it keto, keep it healthy, and I'll see y'all next week.